Hi folks, welcome to my 8-bit retro journal. Today I'm going to be working on my Amiga 600, which is actually considered a 16-bit machine because it has a Motorola 68000 processor in there. Now the QL actually has the same processor, although it's a Motorola 68008, and that actually means that it has an 8-bit data bus versus the Amiga has a 16-bit data bus. They both have an internal architecture of 32-bit. But it's the data bus size that causes these machines to be called 16-bit. So the QL is actually still an 8-bit machine, so it kind of ties into with my name on my YouTube channel. Although, its speed is reduced at the same megahertz, which they're both like 7.5 megahertz. This is going to run slow because it has to do twice as many memory fetches to its RAM. So it's a bit inefficient, but they use the 8-bit data bus chips so that they didn't have to. It was cheaper to produce because they could communicate better to the old 8-bit hardware like memory, etc. Anyway, so what I want to do today is I want to get this power supply, which is an Aztec model AA20270. Has all the voltages. It's got negative 12, positive 12, and 5 volts. And I already have, I showed this last time, I have a 3D printed plug. I've got it plugged in here because what I'm going to try to do is I have one of these clips, and I actually already took one of them and I bent the leg. And I need about 3/4 of an inch, and if I put it in here, it kind of fits and makes connection, and then it also sort of shoots out about maybe in a little more than 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And so that's about the right length that I want. I might actually, I don't think it has to actually be all the way in, so I might actually have it stick out a little bit, although I gotta figure out where the sweet spot is. And so I'm gonna take the other one, I'm gonna straighten it out, and I should get at least 5 pieces to put in there, and then I'm gonna use some hot glue to fasten it to this connector, which will be a little tricky. And so I have to straighten this out and cut it into 4 pieces and cut this one off. I'm going to use a file to make sure that this is nice and rounded so that it doesn't snag or anything. So a lot of machining and tooling, etc., that I got to do to get this to work. And once I have that, I'm going to solder this cable, and I do have this diagram right here that shows me on the Amiga end and on the cable end what voltages are what. So I'm going to do that, and hopefully I can boot up this machine. Now I don't have I do have a floppy drive, but I don't have a floppy disk, and from what I've read, it's really hard to create a disk image without having an Amiga. So I guess I could get a GoTech, which I'm trying to avoid having to invest in all of this. So I don't know yet how I'm going to boot it up. So today's goal is just to get it to the Amiga boot up kickstart screen, and then I'll worry later on about how to actually boot it up. So I'm not even going to worry about plugging in the keyboard or putting it in the case. I really just want to plug this in, have this go to the composite out, and see what I can get. That's the goal today. So the first thing to do is to create these pins from this clip holder, which is about the right thickness. What I need to figure out is how deep do I need to make them, because if I go all the way in, that might be a little bit too far. So I probably don't have to go all the way in. I can probably just go, I can probably go this much. So got to find the sweet spot. What I want to do is keep this in here and then stick them in, find the right spot, and then add hot glue to secure it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this off camera, and then I'll come back once the pins are in place with the hot glue, and then the next step will be adding the cable and seeing how that goes. All right, so I'll come back. All right. Okay, let's put this away, and now I'm going to zoom in on that. Let that dry. So basically I had this in here and I stuck the pins in, and once this dries, yeah, mostly it was dry. I was just kind of cleaning it up here. So let me pull it out and I'll see what we get. And just to zoom in here, so yeah, here it is, the pins. It's got a nice, it's pretty solidly on there. And so now the next thing to do is to then, so I've got this. Let's make sure this still fits on top. So this is gonna, yep, so this is gonna go over there like that. And so that worked pretty well. Hey, a little crooked, but they did fit in. It's weird. But I did use, let me just try. Let me just make sure it still fits in. So the right way. Here we go. Yep. It's in there. Yeah, I think that's going to work. And these pins are solid, yeah, because they're held on with this. So the only issue is, I guess if this pops off, I'm sorry, it's not in focus. If this pops off, but I think it's going to be pretty strong because this glue stuff really works. I mean, it maybe eventually comes off. So really what you would have to do is figure out how to put a little bit of a layer on this side, but I think that would get really quickly bad. So hopefully there was enough texture on the inside of this to hold on. But yeah, so I got my, let me zoom out again. I got my, my plug finally done. I have one left over. So I really did get 6 equal sized length. Yeah, so I just cut these. These are 7/8 of an inch long, so that was just the right length. And so yeah, what's left to do is to take this cable and try to connect it. I think about 2 feet of cable. Let me get a tool to take this apart. Let me zoom in on this as well. So let me do that next. I have these, but I think these are each is a little too small. I think for metal screws, I'm going to use this one. So, because I have to get in here to, that's probably going to be, oh, that's not so bad. So we got one. And what I need to do is just, I'm probably going to unsolder those cables and solder the new cable in its place. Is this longer? I just want to make sure that is longer than those 2 little ones. You've got this one short. And then this is, I think it's going to sort of pop out here this way. This is where the small screwdriver is going to come in handy. So I need just a pop up. This is already coming off. This is not so bad. Yep, and then there we go. There we go. And then this, I think it's just pivots up like that. Look at that. And so we've got the, yeah, so the connectors are down here. So I guess what I'm going to have to do is take out the board, and it's screwed in 3 places. So let's do that. You got this one. Again, I'm going to put these in separately. This is really light, so I'm not sure what this is screwed into. It goes there, and then you've got this one. Goes there, and so let's see what we get now. Do we get yes. This that's actually connected here, so we need to break that. And how do I break that? I guess I could just twist it. You can either cut it or twist it. Oh, there we go. All right. That's gone. And then, oh, so this is gonna hopefully just pop on out. So it's got enough wire. There's the switch. I really just want this to is this going to be a problem? I should just pop it on. All I really want is I want to get to the circuit board. This thing is still in the way. There we go. There we go. Yep. And there it is. Okay. So, make sure it's still in view here. There we go. So, yeah, so these are the connectors. And I believe yellow is 5 volts, purple is negative 12, and it's on the other side here. It's I'm sorry, it's 12 and negative 12. So I think yellow is 12 and purple is negative 12, and then we have the red is 5 volts. So the yellow and the red kind of match up what one expects from you know, when you have the floppy drives, and then black is ground. So that is going to get matched up to this list right here, pin side and computer side. All right, so that's the next thing I do. Got to unsolder these and solder in this cable right here, and about 2 feet, I think, and then put this on the other side, and I should have a sorry, the other side on this. I know I'm zoomed in at the moment. So I should have my power supply and hook it to my Amiga 600 and get it to boot. So pretty close. So let me do that next. I'm going to come back and have the cable soldered to this connector about 2 feet to these, and then I'll test it, and then I'll give it a try. So I've got the power supply. So I built my cable, and let me just show you what that is. Perhaps I can zoom in on this a bit first. You can see that used hot glue. The pins are on there, and then I soldered. And this cable had 8 wires, so I doubled them all up. Tried to color coordinate white and yellow, green and blue, black and brown, and red and orange for my 4 cables. Now it does have the shield pin, but I'm not using it. You can hook it up to ground. I'm going to leave it alone at the moment. But let me go back to zoom out. And so that is plugged into the appropriate wire connections. Now to test it, it turns out that this power supply needs to actually, let me make sure it's still in view. Yeah, this power supply actually needs to be under load. What happens if it's not under load is it starts ticking, and you can't get accurate voltage measures. And I took it to my father-in-law over, who has an oscilloscope, and we scoped it. And what happens is the negative 12 and 5 volts literally will hit their peak and then drop, and hit their peak and then drop. And so what I did is I created this little harness here. So this had 6 holes, 2 for the ground and 2 for 5 volts. So I just shoved the cable into the other 2 holes and have this little light bulb. This is, I think it's a car light bulb. driven by 5 volts, and so that will create a current draw, to which then I can actually use my multimeter, and you can see it. And just to show you that the voltages are working, and I always use a battery so I don't screw up the polarity. So I think it's the positive side is at the front, so black to, yeah. And so to measure the voltages, if I turn this on, again, I have my sheet, which is right here. And so looking at the cable, and this is, if I twist it properly, ground is on the corner, and then I have 5 volts, positive 12, and negative 12. So if I put my probe here at the top and I turn this on, you'll see the light come on because it has a load on there now. And so if I try the bottom pin, this is going to go up to 5 volts, 12 volts, and then I have to switch these probes. It's an old-fashioned multimeter. Oopsie. And the center pin is going to give me 12 volts for negative 12 volts. And yeah, so that seems to be working with regard to my cable. So now what's left to do is to actually power the power it. So what I'm going to do is turn this in here and plug it into the back of this. Perfect. I'm going to turn my monitor on. Yeah. And so, will we get a signal? That's the key. So I'm going to be quick on the draw here if something goes wrong, but let's give it a try. And we have yep, there it is. 2.0 ROMs, copyright 1985, 1991, Commodore Amiga Inc., all rights reserved. So it's working. My power supply is working. Notice that it is not giving me, it's taking the full 5 volts because this is not giving me, if you can see this, there's no light coming out of this one, so it's drawing from the computer. But yeah, the power supply works, my cable works. Now what's left to do is, I do have a disk drive, but I don't have a floppy. Let me see if I can connect that. I do have a power cable for that as well, so let me try that next. I do have a disk that's from the floppy, but I'm not sure if that'll work. So let me come back and give that a try. I've got the floppy Alps drive connected. Again, this was the one I converted, so there's a switch back here. If I put it down, it's for the QL or IBM PC. If I put it up, it's this for the Amiga. There's a video I did on it. I'll put it in the link. I've got a straight through cable connected to this. This actually has a little bit of an extension because after that there's a twist. Sometimes I need that for the QL. I've got my Wizard 560 utility disk in here, which I got when I ordered this disk for the Amiga. Although it's not a 560 Wizard, it's actually a plain old Amiga mouse, but it came with this floppy, so hopefully it's the only Amiga floppy I have. It's the only one I can test. So again, this is still connected. I'm going to turn it on. See what happens. I think the flickering on the screen is because it goes into from NTSC to AV to PAL mode under AV. Okay, once the disk, so pop it in, see what happens. It's actually reading the disk. That's a good sign. Extra memory located. Does the Amiga 600 have more memory than a 500? Pinball Fantasy is loading. That is not a Wizard 560 utility disk. That's a game. Man, maybe I got a game. That would be nice. Let's see what this does. Nothing. The volume on the computer is off. Oh, that's a nice picture. 21st Century Entertainment. The volume on the TV is off, so if it has audio, I'm not going to hear it. I don't know where the remote is for it at the moment to turn the volume up. So this is a game, I guess. So this might be playing audio that I'm not hearing at the moment, but there's controls, but they're not easy to get to, so I'm just going to leave the audio off for now. I really just wanted to see if it would read off the disk. It looks like it's reading off the disk, and it says, please insert a coarse disk in any drive. I'm not sure what that means, but pop it back in, maybe. Nope, it's just hitting that disk now. It's looking for a particular disk, I guess. All right, so it looks like it works. Looks like the disk drive works. So I'm pretty close to getting it. I'm going to turn this off. I'm pretty close to getting my Amiga in one piece now. So I have the case. I'm still trying to light bright the keyboard, and that hasn't been as successful because it's I don't always catch the sun at the right time. It's gotten better. I got my disk. I don't have a Workbench floppy, so I'm going to have to hit up some friends. Or again, if you're a friend of the channel and you want to, I'll pay for shipping, and I'll even send you a floppy to do it on. If I just need Workbench to get it running for ROM for the kernel Kickstart 2.0, just so I can boot it up. What I really want to do is I want to put an IDE drive, one of those solid state ones, in here, and then boot it off of that. And I just need, it's a chicken and egg thing. I just need one Workbench floppy to boot it up so I can actually probably create that. But I'm not going to use a floppy after that. I don't want to invest in a Gotek because on the QL I use SD cards. And here I want to use a solid state drive. So I don't think I need a Gotek to use USB. So I don't want to invest in that. So all I need is a floppy. And again, this floppy I can use on both machines. But yeah, so I'm pretty close to having the Amiga running. By the way, when this was on, I touched this accidentally and I got shocked. It turns out that there's voltage. So this cap, the negative, is actually connected to this heatsink. I don't know why, but if I turn it on, you can see that if I run this, you'll see that there's 400 volts, or I guess it's 300 volts that I got hit with. Oh, I got it on the wrong one, sorry. It's DC. Yep. I mean, it's DC because it was 400, it's 400 volts because it's this cap that's 400 volts, and it's got polarity. So you want to use the DC voltage. And yeah, 400 volts, got zapped. That was not fun. So I gotta be more careful. I'm not sure why the cap is actually connected to this heatsink that's connected to a transistor that's just supposed to dissipate heat. But literally, if you look on the circuit board, that trace goes all the way to one of the edges that solders onto the board that's supposed to hold it in place. I guess you're not supposed to touch that, but I got a little zap there. So power supplies scare me, and I usually make sure that they're off. But right now I just had to have this on the side to be able to utilize it and make sure they're actually not shorting it on this side. But so I got a power supply that works, and put it back in the case. And there's actually someone printed a 3D case for the Amiga. And once I get back to school and the labs open up, I'll print a nice case out of it. Certainly the power cord worked really nicely, and I need to just close this up. It has this little, just want to verify that all these are good. But got my connector going. We'll have the power supply. And kind of excited to have made some progress on that. And next time you'll see me, I think I'll have the whole beast together, and we'll start, maybe even upgrading it. So in any case, I will end here today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.